The Boston Celtics came out of the gates sputtering and struggling this season. Armed with one of the most talented rosters in the league, everybody expected them to simply roll through the regular season and dominate. Brad Stevens began the year with all of his stars in the starting lineup. Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Gordon Hayward, and Al Horford were all either top 3 picks or established all-stars on big contracts. But this lineup struggled and couldn't seem to find a rhythm or hit open 3-point shots. It was almost as if everybody was trying too hard to play the right way, and every time they shot, they hesitated, wondering if they in fact should be shooting it. But this all changed when Marcus Morris Sr. was inserted into the starting lineup for Hayward, and then when Jaylen Brown was injured and Marcus Smart was thrown in there as well. The insertion of Marcus Smart into the starting lineup sparked the Celtics, and they went on to win 8 games in a row. This video will take a look at why the Celtics are doing so much better with the staggered roster, before taking a closer inspection on what makes Marcus Smart such a special player. And I wanted to start with the Celtics at a more general level. They are one of the most interesting experiments of having too many playmakers and too much talent on the one team in recent history. Before the season, a few people thought that the Celtics might have too many cooks, too many players demanding the ball. But is this true? Other journalists pointed to the Warriors as a team that had just as much talent, that still played together as a team. But I think that there are a few huge differences between the Celtics and the Warriors. The Warriors really only have 2 ball-dominant playmakers on their squad, Curry and Durant. These are the guys that they throw the ball and have run and initiate offense, looking for their own shot or to create an open look for a teammate. Then they have Klay Thompson, who is the most pure off-ball player in the entire league. Thompson thrives off of the ball, running and cutting to create looks at the 3-point line and under the basket. He doesn't need the ball in his hands or seconds of the shot clock to dribble and create a look. He blends right in. Draymond Green dribbles the ball more than Thompson, and at times does call the play for himself. But when he does, he is looking to create a shot for one of his teammates, and not for him. These 4 parts mesh perfectly, and then their center is there to grab rebounds, set screens, and defend. It is an exceptionally talented unit, but has nowhere near as many players who can or want to have the ball in their hands as the Celtics do. The Celtics have Kyrie Irving, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Al Horford, Terry Rozier, and Marcus Smart, who can be primary options on different offensive sets. And heck, you could even throw Marcus Morris Sr. in there as well. They have very few players who are simply 3 and D style of players, and this poses a little bit of a problem. These guys have spent their whole careers honing their instincts of when to attack, when to dribble drive, and when to pull up for jumpers. It becomes difficult to then ask them to play defense and accept a far more limited role offensively. And this is what I think happened over the first 20 games of this season. Guys struggled to adjust, especially Jaylen Brown and partially Jayson Tatum. Both of these young studs had just led the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals and took LeBron to a Game 7. They would have felt like they had made it in the NBA, like they could take anyone on. And now they found themselves as much more limited options within the offense. And in Brown's case, he found himself as the 5th option on the starting lineup. And it was showing, especially for Brown. In the first 19 games of the season, he was averaging just 11 points on less than 40% shooting and around 25% from 3. He flat out kind of sucked for those 19 games. And now he finds himself on the bench, something that he doesn't perceive as a bad thing. He himself has said that he's happy to do anything to help this team win. And in the first 3 games back from his injury, he scored 21, 23, and then 19 points on solid shooting, dominating second units off of the bench. He then went on to miss a game from illness, and then struggled in the next 2 games after this. But I think that playing against the bench will allow Brown to more comfortably find his groove. When he is on the bench, he is sharing the court with Hayward, Rozier, and then usually Smart and Daniel Tice, as well as the occasional sprinkling of Semi Ojeleye and Yabusele. Rozier and Hayward are ball users as well, but in this instance there are only 3 of them, and Hayward is one of the most selfless players in the league. He frequently passes the ball to spot up, and is always willing to hit a streaking Brown in transition, where he is by far at his most dangerous. This bench lineup allows Brown and Hayward to know that they can attack whenever they like. They are the primary options on it and don't have to worry about getting Irving and Tatum the ball. And the same is true for the starting unit. Tatum and Irving are the clear first and second options, and when Horford is healthy, he is a facilitator for these two, as is Marcus Smart. Then, Morris Sr. is there to attack off secondary actions, knock down threes, and just make solid play after solid play. There is a clear pecking order. And all of this is really made possible by the presence of one guy on this team, Marcus Smart. Smart has found himself in the starting lineup as well as being an integral piece of the bench unit. Smart usually plays about 5 or 6 minutes before he is pulled for Gordon Hayward or another player depending on the matchup. Then he is reinserted when Kyrie Irving sits to help run and facilitate the second unit. And on both of these units he plays a very similar role. He is there to set up teammates and initiate the offense, almost like an extension of the coach on the court. A lot of the time he will bring the ball up and start the play, either swinging it to Kyrie Irving or Tatum on the wing, or getting it into the big man for one of Brad Stevens' feared dribble handoff plays. This allows him to manage the flow of the offense, and he is partially responsible for ensuring each player gets their shots. This is made possible by the fact that Smart couldn't care about getting his own scoring numbers. He cares about one thing: winning. So when he is making the decision of who to give the ball to, who to set up, it is never selfish. He never even has to think about whether it should be him. Whereas when Kyrie Irving runs the team, he has to consider everyone else, as well as questioning whether he should be the one shooting, because he is one of the best offensive players in the league. Irving can no doubt do this. He can set up his teammates, but he's commented that he loves to play with Smart as he feels he complements him perfectly as a guard, and they definitely complement each other. Irving is a flashy scoring guard who can score from any spot on the court and do things that most NBA players dream of. Smart, on the other hand, is gritty, tough, and throws himself onto every loose ball available. He doesn't dream of scoring 30 points. He dreams of getting 6 steals and locking down opposing scorers. In this way, he is almost the guard version of Draymond Green. He plays with the same mentality as Draymond. Winning is everything, and does this primarily on the defensive end of the court, while also setting up teammates offensively. And this style of play and complementary attitude has resulted in the Celtics having the best lineup in the league over the past 9 games. Lineups with Irving, Smart, Tatum, Morris Sr., and then any of Horford, Baines, or Daniel Tice lead the league in point differential according to Cleaning the Glass. These units exemplify what happens when you combine the talent with structure and clearly defined roles. And while he primarily does focus on setting his teammates up, he can also get his own. Contrary to popular belief, Smart is a capable offensive player, especially in the pick and roll. This is shown when Smart is running with the second unit. Smart runs pick and rolls with Baines and Daniel Tice so well, and is a master of knowing when to look for his shot, when to throw lobs, and when to kick the ball out to his deadly wings in Brown and Hayward. Marcus does all of this by having a super solid handle and using his thick 6'4" frame to seal off defenders. Smart traps his defenders behind him and then dribbles into the paint, using that eagerness to draw fouls or pull the defending big man too close to him. This skill in running a slower style of offense helps the Celtics maintain leads, as their bench unit plays at a slower pace and can use its strong defense to grind out time before the starters come back in. And it has been this defense that has underpinned the Celtics this season. They rank 4th in the league for opponents' points per game and 3rd in the league in defensive rating. Under Brad Stevens, they have committed to that end of the court, using their length and deep rotation to hound teams. The Celtics have 8 players getting over 23 minutes a game, and then another 2 who get around 13 minutes a game. This allows them to put all that energy into every minute of the court, every possession. And if you don't do this on the defensive end, then there is somebody on the bench who can take your spot. But the thing that drives their defense primarily is their length. Smart, Hayward, Tatum, Brown, Morris, and Horford are all capable of switching onto multiple positions. This forms a key part of the defensive strategy, and the Celtics use it to contain pick and roll and off-ball action. But they also use it to hedge and recover quickly. The Celtics will spring out to cover the paint or trap a ball handler and then scramble back to the shooters. By having young, fresh legs with long arms, they can do this faster than less athletic and shorter teams. The other thing the Celtics do defensively that is different to other teams is sprint hard at shooters. Most teams avoid doing this as they believe it can lead to fouling a 3-point shooter, but the Celtics are taught to go as hard as possible, while still trying to avoid contact. and this definitely has had an effect. Opposing teams shoot 32% from deep against the Celtics, and this is the third best percentage for a team in the entire NBA. And while this strategy is effective and the entire defensive scheme is fantastic, it is Marcus Smart who is the enforcer. If you've ever played organized basketball, you'll know that it can be easy to sometimes slip up defensively. You're running up and down the court, trying to find your matchup in transition, and expending energy on the offensive end as well. Good teams limit the amount of times they slip up defensively, but it requires effort, communication, and just a little bit of inspiration. And Marcus Smart brings that inspiration in spades. There is not a possession in a game where he doesn't put 100% effort in. He's constantly barking orders to his teammates, reminding them to D up, calling his number, and absolutely hounding them defensively on the court. Smart's defense comes down to two things physically. First, his size. Smart is big, strong, and has longish arms for his position. This allows him to cover a lot of ground and make the opposing guard feel swallowed up in his presence. And then his strength makes it tough to keep you off of him. A lot of guards will drive past their man and use their strength and body to push them off position and force their defender to lose their momentum in keeping up with them. Not with Smart. He's one of the strongest guards in the league and can keep up with even James Harden in this regard. The other physical attribute is his lateral quickness. Smart can move side to side very quickly for a man of his size and does so without losing his balance or composure. It allows him to keep up with players' moves and through screens as well. But what really defines him is his effort. I've never seen a player give so much effort on the basketball court, and this is what inspires his teammates. If you've just seen Smart dive into the fifth row for a loose ball, can you justify giving a half-hearted effort? Hell no. And the Boston Celtics don't anymore. And now they get this effort from the start of the game, instead of from the moment Smart is inserted into the lineup. And I, for one, hope he stays in the starting lineup for the rest of the season. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications as well. And let me know in the comments what you think of Marcus Smart and the Boston Celtics.